There are lives we rehearse in silence. We learn the rules. We memorize the risks. We practice the posture of who we are supposed to be. But there are truths we never practice. Because practicing would mean admitting we might one day have to jump. I didn't come out. I was pushed out of a life I had spent decades protecting. And everything I thought would save me was the very thing that was killing me. This is the story of how my son became the moment I could no longer pretend. I am a man in my mid-50s. I was married for 25 years, 2 sons, a wife, a home built on routine, responsibility, and the image of stability. I grew up in a Christian household. Faith was not just belief, it was structure. It shaped what was right, what was wrong, and what was unspeakable. Desire was not something to understand. It was something to discipline. My father was former military. Authority was the language of love in our home. You did not question. You complied. You learned early that strength meant silence. I was educated in a military school. Discipline was reinforced. The body was not private. Nudity was normalized in a functional, impersonal way. But something in me noticed the male form differently. I was always fascinated by male anatomy, not with intention, not with plans, just with an awareness I did not have words for. I never acted on it. Sadly, I did not name it. I filed it away as something improper, something to outgrow, something to conquer. Touching another man was a dream, not a reality. Yet it happened in my mind more than once. And so, I became very good at being the man I was supposed to be. A husband, a father, an authority figure, a believer. But beneath the structure, there was a constant battle, a quiet, exhausting negotiation between what I felt and what I believed I was allowed to feel. I lived in a house of certainty, while carrying a question I was never permitted to ask. When I turned 50, something shifted. Not courage, fatigue. The exhaustion of carrying a secret even I refused to name. I told my family I was traveling for work. In truth, I traveled to a different city, to a place I had only heard about. I was very scared. My body was full of adrenaline and my mind felt starved of oxygen. This place was a bathhouse, a space where men went to release what they could not hold anymore. I felt safe. After all, it was a different city and no one would know me there. I did not go looking for identity. I went looking for silence inside my own head. I wanted to know what it felt like to stop fighting myself, even if only for a moment or two. 5 years later, I repeated the ritual, this time closer to home, much closer. Familiar city, familiar lie, and this time I was seen. My son recognized me as I walked into that place. No confrontation, no public scene, just a moment that could never be undone. What followed was not revelation, it was rupture. My wife confronted me in front of him, not with questions, but with certainty. The kind that comes when a life you trusted suddenly rearranges itself in your mind. The marriage ended, not because of one moment, but because the truth that surfaced could no longer fit inside the story we had been telling ourselves for decades. I moved out. The house I had built as a symbol of order became the place I no longer belonged to. And for the first time in my life, I was not the authority in the room. I was the man whose life had finally been interrupted by truth. The fall was not graceful. It came with loss, with grief, with emotional pain, with fear, with the dismantling of an identity I had worked my entire life to maintain. But in the quiet that followed, something unexpected happened. Without the performance of certainty, I began to hear myself clearly. I did not hate my son. I did not blame him. I loved him. I loved my 2 kids, and I continued to care for them in the only way I knew how, with presence, with consistency, with a love no longer filtered through pretense. In time, I met a man, not as an escape, not as rebellion, but as recognition. We built a life that did not require hiding. We married, not as a statement against my past, but as an agreement with my present. For the first time, the person I was at home was the same person I was alone. There was no second life to manage, no compartment to protect, no story to rehearse. And here is the truth I had to make peace with. I would never have chosen the pain of that rupture. I would never have voluntarily stepped away from the life I knew, even if that life was quietly suffocating me. My son did not break my family. He broke the silence I had built my identity around. I spent decades preparing for a parachute jump I never intended to make. I learned the rules. I memorized the risks. I told myself I was being responsible. But the truth is, I was afraid to step away from the plane. The fall was terrifying. But somewhere between the fear and the ground, I realized I was not falling to my end. I was falling into myself. I am grateful for my sons. I am grateful for the life I tried to build. And I am grateful for the life I finally chose to live. Not because it was easy, but because it is finally honest. Some of us do not leave the life that is killing us. We wait to be pushed. And sometimes, the fall is the first moment we are truly alive.